Hey guys, thanks for joining me in the studio. You know, one of the fastest and most powerful ways that you can improve your painting is to get a critique of one of your paintings by a professional artist. And I know this because I've given thousands of student critiques over the years, and I've taught in loads of countries all around the world, live workshops and online workshops. And of course, what I try to do in all my painting lesson videos is to give you all of the knowledge that I have of painting. But there is nothing quite like having a professional artist take one of your paintings and look at it and tell you exactly what you've done right and what could be done better. Hey Barbara, thanks for your painting. So your question is, how do you make your paintings stand out more? How do you make them pop? You questioned whether, do I make my colors lighter or darker? So you're really searching to see how you can make your paintings more dynamic, and you realize that what you've got here in this one so far is kind of plain, and that's obvious when you put them side by side with the resource photo there, isn't it? Because you can see the colors are a bit more dynamic, there's a bit more contrast, and especially in the ocean, that's the one that really jumps out, is that they've got a more intense blue. So there's, we can look at the colors, but I also want to look at the drawing, how you can improve that, and also want to look at the composition as well. So let's make a new layer. Okay, we've got a new layer. Right, get some red on there. A round brush will do it. Okay, so my first question is, why would you create all this space here in the painting when there's not a lot going on there? Because all the interest to me from this photo seems to be in this area here, so wouldn't you want to maximize that? That would be my first thought. And in fact, unless you're going to do something more interesting in the sky than what's here, I'd even reduce the size of the sky, make it something more like that, and maybe extend the foreground a little bit, because I don't like this shape converging on the edge of the painting there, right? So if you just drop the bottom of the canvas down there, then you could have that shape converge there, that's fine. Then, I don't know, run that off there. Maybe put a shadow across this area. Okay. Of course it wouldn't be bright red, but you get the idea. So that's one thing I would think about. Because if you look at your painting, I'll just remove all that stuff. If you look at your painting, the treatment of the clouds, you've tried to get this, mottled, oops, where are we? Tried to get this mottled effect of lots of little clouds by doing this dabbing technique. And that's nice, but if you just squint at your painting, so you make it smaller, a step further away from it, it doesn't really read all of this sky area, because there's not a lot of contrast there between darks and lights. It's not reading as anything really interesting, right? So my question is, like I said, why dedicate all that space to something that's not that interesting? If I were to do that, then I would definitely put some clouds in that were sort of more dynamic and maybe pointing into the scene or directing the eye in some way. maybe some, I don't know, some big cumulus ones, or and swishy ones behind it, something like that. Little ones in front, you know, so something more interesting, because you've only got so much room on the canvas and you want to be giving people interesting stuff to look at. Saying that, of course, there's always the other argument, which is, well, look at all this big beautiful plain space that just lets you drift away and imagine what you want to imagine, just like looking into a big empty sky. So yes, you can do that, and many artists do create just big blank paintings. That's not my style. So, and you've come to me for tuition, not an artist who creates big blank paintings. So I can only give you my perspective on it. Okay. So what else can we talk about? So the coloring, I can't remember if you said this was oils or acrylics. But yeah, you could have put more blue. Let's just take some blue, and you could have just beefed that up, right? And so straight away it pops a little bit more, and you could have put a more intense blue in the sky as well. Of course, it's a little bit more difficult with paint. I'm painting digitally here, so you get the purest colors possible, but that sort of color is not outlandish when you're considering paint, so you could achieve that with paint. Just a matter of not adding so much white. All right. So yeah, you could do that. What you could also do is make the sky, and this is what I do in a lot of my paintings, is make the sky darker than what you see it. And it changes the whole look of the painting, and you could even see if the sky is going to be dark, generally you'll get a dark part of the ocean as well, right? And I've just made it similar to this blue, just a little greener, right? Okay, and okay, maybe a big cloud, I don't know, just playing, and some sort of a zippy cloud there, something like that. Maybe it catches a little bit of light, so let's get some color down here. Let's see how this looks. So where's the light coming from? Let's look. Looks like it's pretty much like midday. There's no long shadows being cast in any particular direction, so let's stick with that lighting idea and just introduce some light onto the top faces of the clouds. Something like that. Now you notice that it's not a bright white. Let's see what happens if you do put a bright white up there. Suddenly it jumps out. All right, so that's bringing, if you use the same white up there, that really, really pops forward, doesn't it? So, don't know if you want to do that. Let's make it not quite as light as all that. So it still sits back there a little bit. I really recommend painting over people's paintings. It's a lot of fun. Very easy on the iPad too. It's a great tool for coming up with ideas for paintings and trying things out. Okay, and so what I could do down there is make that a little darker as well, close to the horizon. And if that cloud is there, then see that land that just disappeared there? Well, that could be all cast in shadow. And could actually make it larger. You know, in your painting you reduce the size of it. I don't know why, because it's quite a nice little feature. In fact, what I would do is increase the size of it, because it's interesting and there's not a lot else there to look at, right? And there's little islands off the end. Okay, so it's looking all right. Maybe grab some color from here. Darken it up a little bit. So maybe a little spot of sunlight. Okay, so you can see how those shapes that I've put in the sky and the land there, if I take it away for a sec, are just more interesting shapes, right? Okay, so painting is all about shapes and colors. So that's how I think about a scene. Is it's not a bit of land or a piece of cloud. It's all just interconnecting shapes. A big jigsaw puzzle. All right. So there's that. That's making the beach look all the brighter by comparison with a dark background, right? So you look at that, and the sky is the brightest thing. So you're drawn there. You're drawn to the horizon, the contrast between the horizon and the sky, and now your eye is pushed from the dark background into the light in the foreground. So using the dark to light like that is a nice way to direct the eye. And let's put another layer over top, and I'll show you what happens if you increase that effect. Okay, so I'll get some darker blue, and I'll make it more grey actually. There we go. So even darker. I might just tidy this up so you can see more easily what's going on. Invert that, and Okay, so now we've got this mask over the top of it. Just tie these edges up, right? Oops. Oh, that's painting. Sorry, a little bit of mucking around here. Alright. So, now look at that. All of that darkness there. Take that away. So let's just reduce that a little bit. Just ease it off. Okay, so the darker you make the background, the lighter the foreground will appear, right? Before, after, before, after. So it's all about contrast, yeah? Contrasting one thing with another thing. All right. Probably not necessary to go that dark. But yeah, so that's one option, is to do that. Now, looking at this hillside, the hillside in the photo is actually pretty cool. It's got these dark shapes that are quite neat, sort of swishy shapes, yeah? Quite like, you know, very sharp shapes. So, these sorts of shapes. So, you've started to use those, but you're lacking the contrast between the light areas and the dark areas, and the color change as well. You've all made it a very similar color and value throughout. Okay, so what I would be wanting to do there is reintroduce some of these really interesting dark shapes. And it doesn't have to be exactly what you're seeing there, but you can use that as inspiration. And take some of that light stuff, and then you'll see some contrast. Makes it a lot more interesting. So just doodling. Now you've got brown there, and it could just be green, or it could be brown, doesn't really matter. Let's make some of it brown, and perhaps throw this area into a shadow. Okay, so it's a little bit of a mishmash, but I think if I keep working with it, I could make it look pretty decent. One thing you've missed on the beach, I'll come back to that area, but this is just jumping out at me. You've missed this big, I guess that's wet sand, right? And you've made the sand pretty much all the same color. And you've also taken away a lot of the beach. You brought the tide in. Whereas I would think all of this interest in the sand, all of this area is really interesting to look at because it's got a variety of stuff happening. So why not just leave it like that? So little variations in this tan color, and then where it meets the ocean here, let's look and see what that color is. See, that's where that color is. It's like a mainly grey. It's a light grey, very slightly blue. Okay, that's what this color is in here, where the ocean meets the sand. And that's really important when you're painting these beach scenes, is to get that transition area between the water and the sand. And it needn't be the same color all the way. Let's take a piece of that color down there. It's slightly more blue. And then you're just a bit yeah, I'll just reduce the opacity of that a little bit. There we go. And then merge that layer down. So where are we? There. So if you take a look at the difference between the whitewash in your painting and the whitewash in the surf, oops, in the resource photo, you can see that in the resource photo, here, I've got a few layers going on here, haven't I? It's, if you look, take a close look at this. Look at the color here. See in the ring that's popped up, the color at the top of the ring around the outside is the color of the surf, of the foam there, right? Now look what happens when I check this one. Actually, I'll bring up the color so you can see. Okay, this one, and there. Okay, see where it is up here in the color? It's nearly white. Okay, now let's check one down the beach. There, a bright spot. And okay, so it's gone from up there down to there. So it's darker and slightly bluer as it goes down the beach. So it's not all the same color all the way down the beach, which is what you've got pretty much. And also you haven't changed the size of the brush strokes or the waves, so that tends to flatten out the look of the surf, whereas on this it gets smaller and smaller as it goes away. And see this patch here, that's what you're looking at. It gets thinner and thinner, right? So we can do that. Okay, so I'll grab some of that color, plonk it in there. Just be careful of the line. Like you can see, it goes, there's a curve that way, all right, to start with, over here, like that, a little bit, and then a curve that way, a little bit. So it's a little bit of a S-curve like that, but a very, very faint one. And that's the sort of very subtle sort of drawing things that I'm looking out for. all the time when I'm drawing. And I've just applied less pressure to the brush as I've gone down further away down the beach, and that's made the foam a little bit darker. Can also add a little bit to the bottom of the islands there, or the headland, the surf breaking against it. Okay, so what else? Now if you look at the wet sand there, there's some water still left in it, and that's made it a little bit bluer. Well, it's actually a grey, but it looks bluer against all that warm. And there's a bunch of little people and things down there, which are a really nice little addition to the whole thing. So, and they're very easy to put in. You just pop some little colours and things down there. Maybe a little red one. Little something something. Okay, maybe somebody playing in the water. A couple of somebodies. And let's see about this. I'm not sure about this big shape. This will kind of help where you get this light color here, or what? Oh, this light color inside that circle there, where it goes into shadow in this area here. Just that kind of little subtle transition from dark to light can help create just a bit more interest. So I'll do the same, a little bit more of the same with the grass as well. Have that light, that's in the light there. Okay, that's looking more interesting, right? So we're getting a real sense of light and shade there now. And yeah, you could put these little little flowers in the foreground here, but it's sort of way over in the corner, and it's, I don't know why. Yeah, it sort of draws the eye too much, really. If I was going to do that, I would want sort of more space down here to do that in. Alright, so I'd want to extend that and then bring up some things like this, so that they're not so squashed into the corner like that. Alright, what else? We could throw a few more little darks in here to help strengthen this foreground and bring it forward more, because at the moment the darks in here are just as dark as the blues back there. So if we want to create a space between the two, between these foreground hill and the background hill, then we need to create a difference in value, so, and contrast. So I have the foreground darker and more contrasty than the background, or at least, sorry, have the darks in the foreground darker and the lights in the foreground lighter. So that's what I mean by more contrast. Something like that. Maybe have another area in shadow. I don't know, maybe change that into sand. Maybe not. Looks a bit more dynamic. Okay, so what else could we do? Maybe throw some little swells in there. And maybe intensify that ocean a little bit more as well. Maybe pop a little light on there as well. Okay, so are we ready for before and after? Let's see. I'll merge that down. So before, after. Before, after. Oh, another thing with your painting, just be very careful when you do horizons. See, yours got a bit of a bend in it. And it may be because the line is actually bent, or it may be because just the edge is softened over here, and so it gives the appearance of being rounded. So yeah, basically what I'd do there is soften this section off to match the left and the right of it, and then there'd be a straighter horizon. That'd be better. And yeah, just watch the line of this as well. It's gone down, right? So what I often do with especially large canvases is to measure get a tape measure and measure down, mark there, and then draw a line with a big straight edge ruler to get the horizon just right. Okay. Oh, get rid of that. Okay. So hopefully that's given you an insight into how you might make this painting pop more, and a few of the things that you've missed out. I could just keep doing that all day. It's really neat to see, to do spot the difference. Hey, everybody loves to do spot the difference. What I might do is bring that down separately so you can see it side by side. Merge down, and sorry, this will take a little bit of wrangling. Cut and paste. There we go. Get rid of that. And oops. So you can see them side by side. Actually, I'll move that one down there. That one up there. All right. There we go. So just a recap for you. I'll make a new layer so I can scribble on it while I'm talking. Paintings, for me at least, are about big shapes, dividing your big shapes into smaller shapes, just to make it more interesting, yeah? Similarly with this, right, we just put more interest in there, right? So now we've clearly got this sort of shape, which is an interesting shape, and that's sort of echoed by this shape. This shape, and these other shapes, right? Whereas this was not as defined. Okay, it was lots of dabbing because you wanted to achieve the mottled look in there, which is fine, but you lost your contrast because your darks merged in with your mid values, and you didn't really have any strong lights in there, only tiny little flicks here and there, so the shapes were all a bit lost. Okay, so yeah, whatever it is that you're painting, keep in mind the shapes that you're painting, because that's really important. Like if you wanted to paint these type of clouds in here, I would just simplify that into a big cloud shape, however that may be. And that's how I like to see stuff. And then I paint that as a big object. I'll demonstrate for you. So maybe put a darker cloud in the front. And then once I've got the big shape, break it down into slightly smaller shapes. Okay, so it might look something like that. It's all a bit hard edged. Maybe I'd soften some edges off here, soften some edges off there. Generally soften the edges off at the sides of the painting. So you can see how I've made just a large shape of lots of small shapes. So that's what I try and do, is try and see the big shapes. Okay. So we talked about shapes. We talked about the design, how you could chop all that off if you wanted to, and even extend this down. You could even have a square and extend that landscape down. Maybe drop all of this area into a big cloud shadow, and then have light in this section, something like that, and sand and shadow, stuff like that, sand and light, all interesting shapes. Could do something like that. Could be cool. All right. It could be nice, right? And again, maybe darken the sky off a bit, because you don't need all that contrast dragging your eye up there. Yep, that's pretty neat. So I like to look at things from a distance, or just squint my eyes, or do both. Walk away and squint your eyes. So, because if it reads well from a distance, then I know I got it working pretty good. Another thing that's quite nice is these shapes here in the sand, right? Those are pretty cool. Could make more of those by doing that. Make them bigger, more dynamic like that. Maybe counterpose them with a little similar sort of a thing in the sky. Okay, so then you got shapes that are zoomy type shapes. Two more zoomy shapes over here. Alright, so the whole thing becomes more and more about these interesting zoomy type shapes. Something like that could be interesting. So quite dynamic, right? I find that interesting as an idea. Okay, where was I? I got carried away. I'm sorry. Take that away. That's before, after. Oh, and then you could put your little doohickeys in there. That'd be quite nice against all that dark. In fact, I got a brush for that. Watch this. Come on then. Maybe too many. There we go. Something like that. All dynamic things. Maybe. So shapes and darkening the sky we talked about to boost the brightness of the foreground. So it's really a huge spotlight effect what we've done here, right? So this is, I'll get a bit of color. So you can see there's a gradation of color from dark to light through the whole painting there and here as well, like that. And that's all driving you to look at this area of the beach where all the little people are. Okay. What else? Brushwork. Let's look at the brushwork. It's all very similar in here, right? All very similar sized brushwork. Dab, 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 dab. And remember I said you've lost the big shapes because of so much dabbing. You've also lost the opportunity for variety. If you do large brush strokes versus small brush strokes, you get more variety, creates more interest, just looks more exciting to look at rather than having it all the same type of stroke. Similarly, you can try, well, here would be a very good spot to put in thicker paint, like really load it onto the brush. Here as well, and here in the whitewash. What else? I think that's about it. Yeah, we talked about the shape of the thing there, how you've minimized that, whereas you could have really maximized it. Could even put a little more interest in there by simply adding a little splash more light, like this, little things. Maybe. If you wanted to, you could boost the clouds back up. A little section of it maybe that draws you down into looking at that little light spot we just created on the land. So when you have a lighting, you know, you start to light something like clouds, it doesn't need to be the same light over the whole thing, because this is a huge thing. This cloud is massive, right? Same with the landscape, it's just massive. And so you get a variety of light over the landscape. And that is part of what makes a landscape look so big, is having a variety of lighting conditions over this huge thing. Because when you're looking at a cup, for instance, it's a small thing. You don't get a huge variety of lighting conditions on a cup. Well, not so you'd notice, but in a landscape, you can. So, I mean, what I'm saying basically is I could just keep doodling over these clouds and make it all the same, right? But it's more interesting, I think, to have more subtle, subdued light there and stronger light here. Same with having slightly subdued down the beach and slightly lighter in this area here. Slightly in shadow here and slightly in light there. Same with the ocean, slightly darker here, slightly lighter there. So those are some things to think about, because for instance in your water it's all very much the same color through all of there, right? And that's making it flat, whereas if you look at the photo, there's a variety of watercolor through there. All right. Okay, and that variety from the light to dark and the change in the hue from the greenish to the bluish, that helps to create depth. The eye just wants to travel into the painting because of that. Okay, anything else I can impart? Well, I'm a big fan of putting seagulls in, so I would probably stick a couple of little seagulls like that, maybe one down here, doing their thing. And of course, have to sign it. Okay, so hope that helps, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions about that, and I'll do what I can to help you out. Okay, thanks for watching. So that's the end of the critique, and that's pretty much exactly what you'll receive for your painting if you purchase the service and you just upload a photo of the painting you're working on and a resource photo if you have it, and also talk about what you're trying to achieve, what you struggled with, that sort of stuff. And I'll put all of that into this personalized professional painting critique for you. So I look forward to seeing your painting.